Well, good morning, River Rock Church. My name is Jen Denowden, and I serve on staff as Connect Team Leader if we haven't met. And I am here to welcome you to worship today, which is Sunday, May 17th. We're so glad that you're here. And I just have a few announcements before you hear from Pastor Harold in our Sunday message. So, this is May, which means in normal circumstances, we would be looking at celebrating all of our graduates. And we're going to do that again this year, but in a little bit different of a format. So if you or your student is graduating from middle school, high school, college, university, or trade school, we'd love to hear from you, as we'd like to do a special celebration for them. And to let us know about your graduate and where they're graduating from, you can simply reach out to me. My email is jend@riverrockcommunity.com. I'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to honor and celebrate the accomplishment of the graduates in our community. Secondly, we are going to be very soon announcing a little change to our Sunday worship structure, which we're really excited about. But I'm just encouraging you, if you're not connected to our normal communications during the week, to do that so that you stay in the loop. That means you can find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We also just recently launched an Instagram page, so you can find us there if you're an Instagram user, or you can sign up to receive our weekly or just ongoing email communications. And so to sign up for that, again, just reach out to me and I'd be happy to connect you with that to ensure that you are staying in the loop on all of the happenings and updates as they come. Just a reminder and a thank you. Thank you to everyone who has continued to give faithfully during this time to the ministry of River Rock Church. We're grateful for your gifts, and we just ask that you would prayerfully consider giving as our ministry continues, and we're looking at new ways of growing and changing how we do ministry to reach people during this time. To give online, it's as easy as going to our website. There's a link right at the top of the website to give online. You can also choose to send in your gifts by snail mail, and that can be sent to our regular mailing address, which is located on our website as well. And then the last thing I'd like to say is if we were in our normal setting doing worship together, I'd conclude announcements by saying, and now you can stand and greet someone next to you and say good morning. So I was thinking about how could we do that today in this home context. So maybe it's saying good morning and shaking the hand of someone that you're watching this video with in your home. That's fun and good. But you may have already done that this morning. You may have already said good morning to them. So I was thinking of something else we could do today to welcome others. And what I thought was it'd be a really good day to reach out to somebody else that you've been thinking about or praying for. Maybe giving them a phone call or a text, an email, just to let them know you're thinking of them, and maybe inviting them to worship, even online with you here. So that's all I have for announcements today. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you very soon.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm kind of smiling right now because this is the third take of trying to get this thing started, and it seems like the first three sentences are always the hardest to do. Welcome back on behalf of River Rock Church. Welcome to this online version of church. And I never dreamed I'd be doing this via YouTube, and here we are almost a full 2 months into this, and it's really, really nice that there just might be an end in sight. So there's hope. We're coming to the end of this series also. This is the second to the last message in this series, loosely titled Anyway. It's about the idea that there are kind of forces moving in the current one direction, and as followers of Jesus, we're fighting that current. So it might be easy to do the common thing, but following Jesus, the hard thing, let's do that anyway. And this morning, I broke every single rule when it comes to titling a message. Every sermon instructor will tell you, make your message titles short and brief and memorable. And I think this is the longest title I've ever had, and I even have to read it. So, the title of it is You May Get Further with Popular People, Be with the Unpopular People Anyway. Now, let's unpack that a little bit. What does that really mean? What are we getting at? I want to start off with words that may strike fear into the heart of any of the middle school that's left in us. And I want to start with this phrase: let's pick teams. Now, depends on which sport. I was reasonably good at baseball, so I was probably in the middle of the pack when it came to choosing teams for baseball or softball. Basketball, and I was always picked second to the last or last. Football, same thing. Those were just sports in which my build and my makeup didn't make me first pick. And I always felt a little bit like whenever someone said, let's pick teams, that I was going to end up feeling pretty badly by the end of that process. But once the game started, it didn't matter nearly as much, and you did as well as you could. But that mental image of knowing who was always going to get picked ahead of you is one that many years later just kind of still sticks with me. The image here is that when it comes to something like sports, we're going to pick for basketball, we're going to pick the taller people. We're going to pick people that on the outside, on the exterior, really, really have the power, the popularity, the ability. And I remember vividly that there were people that were chosen ahead of me that weren't as good, but they were popular kids. And so there was a whole lot of baggage that was attached to this. And it seems like there's just this human part that we're going to pick people that we like or that are popular or powerful because we're going to benefit someone out of it. Contrast that with the way Jesus approached power and popularity. And I'm meshing those two just a little bit. Jesus approached it so differently because if you would have said to Jesus, okay, instead of, this formal idea, you're choosing disciples, Jesus, pick your team. Jesus' team was made up of blue-collar guys and people with a background and people with bad reputations, and they were just people that would never have been first, second, or they were all last picks. Jesus surrounded himself with tax collectors and with people that had a bad town reputation. That was Jesus' team. Those were his first choices. So Jesus didn't choose the popular crowd. He didn't choose the popular people. He didn't go to the seminaries. He didn't go to the white collar, the power people. He chose the unpopular ones to be his team. And when you look further at the way Jesus did his ministry, he tended to hang around with people who also were not the popular crowd, not the power crowd. And time again, he's seen with people who were injured or sick or had bad reputations. He spent time with the unpopular and the powerless. And that bothered the popular crowd repeatedly. But you see, there's this interesting thing that happened in Jesus' ministry, that the popular crowd tended to follow Jesus for what they could get out of him. It helped promote their image. The unpopular followed him because they knew they needed him. It's not just a want for my image. It's I need him badly. And Jesus kind of articulated that in this wonderful parable in Matthew 21, where he describes the popular crowd as this older brother who, when the father comes to them, says, I want you to do this for me. They're real concerned about their image, and they'll go, oh, absolutely, I will do exactly what you want me to do, and then turn right around and not do it. And by the way, if you notice in a lot of Jesus' writings, one of the things that he is, or sayings, we don't have any record of anything that Jesus wrote. But in a lot of Jesus' teachings, one of the things that he is hardest on is doing nothing. Contrast that with the younger brother, the rebellious brother, who when his father said, I'd like you to do this, said, no, I don't want to do that. A little like the unpopular people, a little bit like the tax collectors, a little bit like the people with bad reputations. But on thinking about it, they turned and did their father's will anyway. And so we end up with this amazing, and this expression is not just mine, it's been used by a number of people, this amazing Jesus paradox of power. When we think we're strong, we're actually weak. When we know we're weak, in Him we're actually strong. You see, the powerful and the popular, they have within themselves, excuse me, the ability, they think, to handle life and to do things all on their own. To be able, they've got this covered. We've got this. And so they really want to maintain this image that they're able to handle everything and to control everything and to deal with everything. And then they call Jesus as if he's the fire department when there's an emergency. But in the meantime, they love it if Jesus just stays out of their lives. We'll call you when there's a problem. We'll let you leave when things are back to where we can handle them again. The unpopular know they need God. They know they need Jesus. There's the powerless and the weak know that they need him. And here is that, again, that incredible paradox. When we think we're strong, we're actually weak. When we know we're weak, in him we're actually strong. God's power works best not through our strength. God's power works best not through our popularity, not through our image, not through our facade, not through our masks. None of those things are the ways in which God's power works best. When we have power on our own, it's as if God says, go ahead, I'll let you. But when we truly depend on him, that's where our weakness gets supplemented by his strength. 1 Corinthians 1 is a great chapter on where Paul describes his own weakness and that he'd rather be incompetent and let the strength of God and the strength of the Spirit be visible rather than people's faith being resting on Paul's articulate speeches and his good sermons. Paul wanted confidence in God, not in Paul. And that's part of that paradox, is that as human beings, it's really easy for us to put trust in human beings. And God says, listen, there's really no place for you to put trust but in me. So how do we do this? How do we do this? I've got just a couple of moments left. How do we actually put this into practice? First of all, I think it is a mental direction, and that is that our confidence has to rest and our hope has to rest on what God can do and not what we can do. That's true with me as your transitional pastor. That will be true as Pastor Bill comes on in a little over a month. Your confidence is not in him and not his ability and not his proficiency, but on the power of the Spirit to grow the church. It is him, it is Christ that our hope has to be in. So recognizing that the only true source of strength is Christ. Secondly, I think we just repeatedly practice that paradox of power. We recognize in ourselves our weakness. We recognize our need for Christ's strength. We recognize in the people around us the need for strength that only comes from Christ. And we notice and acknowledge those, and this is the final point, we notice and acknowledge those who are outwardly weaker. I think it's an amazing test to look at a church to say, how are they treating its weakest members? Don't forget that when Jesus pointed out that wonderful parable in Matthew 25 about the sheep and the goats, the example that he used was not how did you treat the wealthy? How did you treat the powerful? How did you treat those that had made it? His focus was how did you treat the least of these? And in that parable too, the great flaw was those who had done nothing. And so when we recognize that it is the hungry and the thirsty and the sick and the lonely, and this period of time, caring for those who have those kinds of needs is not second or third on our list. That's first. It's caring for the unpopular, the unpowerful. It's meeting them. And it's recognizing that in meeting them, we're meeting Christ. So, on the outside, on the image side of things, we may get further if we hang around with popular people and we get strength and powerful people around us. But that's not the Christ way. The Christ way is to be with the unpopular people anyway. Would you pray with me, please? Father, help us as we think about this, as we consider this. And remind us of those great words of the prophet who said that it is not by might, and it is not by strength, it's not by armies, it's not by force, but these things are accomplished by your Spirit. And in your Spirit there is that humility and gentleness that might not be powerful and it might not be popular, but it is thoroughly of Christ. Father, weave that into us more and more. In your name, amen. Thanks, everybody. May God's rich blessing be on all of you. Hopefully we'll get to at least see each other in some capacity soon. And I wish God's grace and mercy to all of you. Thanks. Bye-bye.